chemistry lessons, crystal meth, and a bit of fried chicken. Breaking Bad has everything, and this is how it works. Now, my good friend Tatiana came up with an excellent theme for Breaking Bad. How do we live with the drives that make you a good but dissatisfied person, and those that make you destructive but fulfilled? Right, let's get those two opposites on the table. So basically we've got good but dissatisfied with the turtle, and we've got destructive but fulfilled. And the person that's basically living between these two extremes is a lovely chap called Walter White. And lovely Walter White has got a bit of an issue, basically. He's got a bit of a problem because basically he's got a lovely wife who happens to be pregnant, and he's got a lovely son who's got cerebral palsy, and he's also got something else which is not so lovely, which is cancer, inoperable. That's exactly what it looks like. And because of that, he now realises, because this is a man who's a chemistry teacher and washes cars in the evening to make ends meet, he needs to leave a legacy for his family. What to do? Well, this is a guy who's got a brother-in-law who happens to work for the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency. And one day, dear old Hank basically shows to Walter, who he thinks is a bit boring and dull, there's easy money to be made by making and selling drugs. Well, suddenly Walter thinks, well, you know what, I'm a chemistry teacher, so why don't I, obvious plan, hire my old one of my old students, Jesse Pinkman, and what we'll do is use my chemistry to basically go and make a load of crystal meth, as one would do. And he does. And by doing so, suddenly, oh my giddy aunt, the money just starts pouring in. So you would have thought, problem solved. Here's a man, he needs to find money to save and leave for his family because he's dying of cancer. He's created crystal meth. He's got loads of money, problem solved. The problem is that poor old Walter has a bit of a stone in his shoe. Because back in the day, there were a couple of people that he used to work with when he was doing research called Gretchen and Elliot Schwartz, I think. And they basically with him ran a company of which he didn't really get any recognition for. They did, and they made crap loads of money. And now they're billionaires. So he feels a bit disgruntled. And so really what's happening is that whilst he can actually satisfy his need for legacy money, what's really happening is that by solving the problem, he's actually getting the very recognition that he's needed all his life. Or at least since these guys dumped him. And what that does is it unlocks the beast within. There you go, there's the beast within. Because this is basically represents the sort of the Jekyll and Hyde of Walter White, is that he suddenly starts finding he's feeling awake. He's suddenly getting that sense of recognition and that acknowledgement, which he didn't have when he was a good and yet unfulfilled person. So he starts moving in this direction. He becomes more destructive through his production of crystal meth, and yet he's becoming the feeling that he's becoming valued. Because here's a man who suddenly has enough money, but he doesn't have enough recognition. And you know what? I don't know about you or I, but when you start working in the drugs area, oops, oh God, look how angry they are. Okay, bunch of guys come along, okay, and they cause problems for you. But the funny thing is, because Walter now suddenly feels very self-assured because of the recognition of the money that he's gaining, he thinks he can deal with them. And do you know what? He does. He's pretty smart at it. He suddenly becomes quite a drug baron himself, and he becomes a bit of a mafia guy, and he basically kills loads of people. He becomes hugely destructive, but hugely satisfied. So now we're caught in a bit of a trap, because this guy is no longer needing the money for the legacy. He's caught in a loop, because the more he does this, the more recognition he gets, and the more fulfilled he feels, but the more problems come along, and the loop goes on, and he's just caught in a horrible spiral. So throughout the whole of the seasons, we watch a man who's going round and round in this horrible loop. He's caught, and yet at the same time, we as the audience, and I suppose poor old Walter in a way, want him to be the responsible dad to the son who has cerebral palsy and to the wife who's pregnant. And yet at the same time, we don't want him going back to being this boring turtle. So what to do? And that's the question that really dogs him and also dogs us, the audience, throughout the entire 5 seasons. And it's only in the last 30 seconds of season 5, last episode, where he actually decides to sacrifice himself, where he realises, I can't have my cake and eat it. I can only settle on one and not both.